So the most recent episode of The Bad Batch showed us Clone Commandos training Imperial replacements, and I figured this is a good opportunity to take another look at the Clone Commandos, who they were and what they were used for during the war. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So, Clone Commandos were a specialized unit within the Grand Army of the Republic that could carry out very specific types of raids. Unlike ARC troopers, which were designed to be leaders of general, regular, rank-and-file clone troopers, and the heavily genetically modified Bad Batch, these troopers were designed specifically to infiltrate enemy facilities and carry out assassination missions and sabotage missions. Think of them functioning a lot like Navy SEALs do in real life, basically being sent after very specific targets for deep infiltration raids. To help them in this role, they received a pretty intensive line of combat training, basically all the way from birth, which meant that by the time that they were fighting age, they were some of the most capable clones within the clone army. On top of that, they received a few extra genetic boosts to make them a little bit stronger, faster, and more capable than standard clone troopers. And then on top of that, they were given some of the best armor and equipment within the Grand Army of the Republic. This equipment included a very complex and advanced suit of clone trooper armor, which included things like night vision, which allowed them to see better in the dark, an advanced sensor suite which allowed them to better detect their surroundings, an interlinked heads-up display which connected them with all the other members of their squad, and a rather advanced communication suite which was far more capable than the comms on most clone troopers. And most of them were outfitted with a very particular weapon, the DC-17M. The DC-17M is arguably one of the most versatile weapons in Star Wars, at least as it's depicted in the Legends game Republic Commando. Its full name is the DC-17M Interchangeable Weapon System, and it earns that name wholeheartedly. While its standard configuration is that of a blaster rifle able to engage other infantry units, it could easily be modified to function as a sniper rifle for engaging targets at long range, and as sort of a grenade launcher for engaging heavier hostiles. This allowed this single weapon to fill 3 combat roles and be interchangeable among members of a squad. We know a lot more about what these commandos did in Legends, but I assume it's fairly similar in canon. During the war, they served extensively carrying out deep raids within Separatist territory. One of the most notable raids mentioned in Legends was the raids carried out during the Battle of Geonosis in the opening hours of the war, where the commandos of Delta Squad not only assassinated Geonosian leader Sunfac, but also disabled an entire Separatist core ship, preventing it from being able to evacuate off-planet. By the way, this wasn't the only time we would see these troopers in action. They would have many more missions throughout the duration of the war, appearing of course in the game Republic Commandos, where they are the main subject, as well as a couple times in the Clone Wars, where they pop up and make little cameos here and there. We know that they ended up fighting in a lot of fairly unusual circumstances, like when Delta Squad was deployed to the captured Republic Acclamator-class assault ship, the Prosecutor, where they had to liberate the vessel from Trandoshan slavers who had commandeered it, and eventually repel a Separatist attack on the vessel. We also know that the same Clone Special Forces unit was involved in operations on Kashyyyk shortly before the Battle of Kashyyyk near the end of the war. We also know a similar group of clone commandos, known as Foxtrot Group, was involved in the Battle of Sarish. This is, by the way, the group that Gregor was involved with. He was labeled as missing in action during that battle. So they filled their very specific deep infiltration role during the Clone Wars, but what exactly happened to them after the war? Well, now the Bad Batch has given us some answers. We see in last week's episode of the Bad Batch these clone commandos being used to train their replacements. Since these clone commandos would have not just been some of the best trained clone troopers in the Grand Army of the Republic, but also had a significant amount of combat experience under their belts, using them to train new Imperial recruits makes total sense. They are some of the most capable soldiers the Empire has at their disposal at the moment. So we see these clone commandos, likely now serving as Imperial commandos, training new Imperial troops. Now this does seem like a little bit of a waste of their talents, not using them in combat to hunt down insurgents, but it's clear that the Empire wants to replace the clones, so it makes more sense to use these highly skilled soldiers to pass their knowledge on to recruits. Now, these clone commandos being used to train recruits is part of Project Warmantle. If you want to learn more about Project Warmantle, the Empire's plan to replace the clones, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I want you to let me know down in the comments whether you think it's a smart idea for the Empire to use these commandos to train new troops, or should they be used in combat until they're ready to be retired. And if you have anything from Star Wars you'd like to see me cover, leave it down below in the comments. And last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.